Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Pigskin Addicts. Back again with another video. So, is the Charger offense good enough? Is it good enough to make a deep playoff run, possibly Super Bowl run? I say yes. 100% yes. 100% yes. But there is a caveat. Brandon Staley must be involved. He must have an active role in offensive game planning for any type of playoff game. I don't care who it's against. I don't care where it's being played. Brandon Staley must play an active role in game planning. Look back no further than the playoff clinching win against Indy. Brandon Staley was not happy with the offense. Now, again, Brandon Staley is a guy who is very diplomatic in his approach at the podium. You know, he's not going to come up on the podium and eviscerate players or any of his other coaches. He's just not the guy to do that. So you kind of have to take, little pieces and little clues off of what he said. His post-game press conference was very clear that he was not happy with the offense. And I think that he is taking a more advanced approach, a more hands-on approach with the offense. And I think he is pretty much supervising Joe Lombardi, right? And, to pretty much micromanage him to make sure that this offense achieves something. This offense has left a lot to be desired all season long, but with Brandon Staley having a hands-on approach with this offense, I do think that they can be good enough to make a playoff run. Again, they don't have to be great, right? They don't have to be historic. They don't have to be record-setting. All they have to do is capitalize on opportunities, right? Turnovers, they are going to come few and far between in the playoffs, but when you do get them, you have to capitalize on them. And obviously, red zone appearances, right? You have to score touchdowns, right? You can't get into any field goal fest in the playoffs. It's just not going to work. You must capitalize and score anytime you're in the red zone. So those two things, at the forefront, I do believe that this offense can do enough to win several playoff games. I do think that Joe Lombardi can be good enough to win playoff games. As far as him as a play caller, offensive coordinator, overall, I'm just not sold on him, and I don't see that changing, right? Barring any crazy turnaround that the Charger offense has, I just don't see it. I'm not sold on him. I think the Chargers can do better, and, to be honest with you, I think, the Chargers have probably a bottom 5 offensive coordinator in the league. If Joe Lombardi was let go today, would there be any teams interested in him as their offensive coordinator? I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but just that uncertainty lets you know that the Chargers probably could do better, and I do expect him to do better in this offseason, but I do think that he can be good enough for a playoff run. I know this is going to sound a little controversial, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with it, but I do have supporting evidence, right? I'm not just pulling anything out of my ass. I do have supporting evidence, and we're going to get to that right now. So look no further than the 2021 Week 13 game, the Chargers on the road in Cincinnati against the Bengals, right? The eventual AFC champion Bengals. That was the best offensive game under Joe Lombardi as an offensive coordinator, I believe. You can kind of go back to, Week 5 of 2021, the Chargers and Browns game. That was a classic game going back and forth. The offense scored a lot of points, and that's definitely up there. But I think the degree of difficulty just being on the road against an eventual Super Bowl participant and being able to put up 41 points, to me, that tops the chart for me. And, the game plan, all of that pretty much does it for me, right? It puts the Bengals game a little bit above the Browns game, but, they're still in the same stratosphere. But the Week 13 game in 2021, the Chargers put up 41 points, right? 41 points. And, a lot of people are looking at that and saying, oh, it's a lot of points, right? It's very impressive. But normally, when teams score over, I 34, 40 points, some team 50 points, some of that or a lot of it could come from special teams. It could come from defense, right? All of those are not typically really offensive points per se, but of the 41 points the Chargers scored in Week 13 of 2021, 34 of those were actual offensive points, right? They came from offense being on the field, scoring points. There was only one touchdown. It was Tavon Campbell. He recovered a fumble and he ran it back. And that was the only points that came from defense or special teams. So 34 offensive points on the road against the eventual Super Bowl participant. Pretty damn good to me. But when you go down and you look at this game, right, the film is not available. All 22 films not available on the NFL Plus app, but the game broadcast is on there. I went back and I watched it. This game plan from Joe Lombardi and the offense was very, very good. And this game plan was a downfield game plan. It was a downfield passing game plan, but they stayed balanced and they mixed things up very, very well. So if you go and you look at the box score, if you don't want to watch the whole game, look at the box score, watch some of the highlights, look at the way the Chargers kept the Bengals offense off balance, right? And it's not, I've said it before, I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it as many times as I need to. It's not about throwing the ball downfield. It's not about taking, 60, 70-yard shots downfield. It's not about that. It's about keeping the defense off balance, keeping them guessing, right? And not letting them get comfortable, right? Not letting them really, get a hold of your offense or really get a beat on what you're doing offensively, right? You have to guess every single play. And that's what the Chargers did. They kept the Bengals defense of 2021, which turned out to be a very damn good defense, kept them off balance all game long. So I think that approach obviously can win playoff games, right? If you carry that approach, it can win playoff games. If you look at the box score, the Chargers had 34 offensive points, right? They had 3 turnovers that game as well, too. 3 turnovers. Austin Eckler fumbled twice. He fumbled twice, and I believe both fumbles were on the Cincinnati side of the field. So the Chargers could have legitimately put up 50 points that game, legitimately had a shot to put up 50 points. That's how good the offense was flowing that game. And Justin Herbert also threw an interception as well, too. So 3 turnovers to put up 41 points with 3 turnovers, right? That means your offense was humming, and the offense was humming that day. But the aggressive mindset, the aggressive play calling, the aggressive nature is what I want to focus on. Again, that Bengals defense turned out to be a pretty damn good defense. You don't get to the Super Bowl without being able to get off the field on third down, without being able to turn people over. And the Bengals defense, they ended up being a very good defense in the playoffs. They obviously shut Patrick Mahomes down second half AFC Championship game. And I have alluded to their defensive coordinator before, Lou Anarumo. He is one of the best. He's one of the best in the league at adjusting, right? Making adjustments on the fly from quarter to quarter, from half to half. He's one of the best at that. So I think if the Chargers are going to go, far in the playoffs or have any hopes to go far in the playoffs, the aggressive nature of the offense has to be there. It has to be there. You cannot be, reactive. You cannot play reactionary football. You can't think that you're going to kick a bunch of field goals and win playoff games. It just doesn't really happen. You have to be aggressive. And you have to utilize your weapons, right? This is why you pay guys big money. This is why you pay the weapons on the outside, right? Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. You pay these guys for this type of opportunity. And again, the Chargers have everything that they need, right? You would want a speed guy. The loss of Jalen Guyton is definitely big, right? You have to acknowledge that, but you want to be able to be balanced offensively, right? And I think the Chargers have everything that they need to do that. Now, let me preface before I go any deeper into, the box score and what happened in that Week 13 game. I do have to acknowledge Jalen Guyton did play. He was healthy. And Rashawn Slater did play. He was healthy as well, too. Those are 2 big losses that the Chargers have had to deal with all season long, the 2022 season, right? So you obviously have to acknowledge that. And I'm not, discounting those guys being out. But I will say, just from a game plan standpoint, right, this game plan works. It works with pretty much anybody in there. It's an aggressive mindset, and I think you can't discount that. The Chargers have to be aggressive offensively. As well as this defense is playing, right, you cannot bank on stopping, stopping teams in their tracks. It just, you would like to do it, but you really can't hang your hat on it, right? There's too much uncertainty with that. Too much uncertainty to say, yes, we're going to stop Patrick Mahomes for sure. Yes, we're going to stop Josh Allen for sure. Yes, we're going to stop Joe Burrow for sure. Too much uncertainty, right? You're going to have to get to a point where you match points, right? And if the Chargers hope to make a deep playoff run, right, that means winning 3 games before possibly getting to a Super Bowl. You're probably, one of those 3 games is probably going to be a shootout, maybe a mini shootout, right? There's going to be a time in one of those games, right, where you're going to have to match points. So offense is going to have to come out, and they're going to have to be aggressive, and they are going to have to try to do their damnedest to match points with whoever the opponent is. Now, back to the Week 13 game, right? I want to highlight the mindset. I want to highlight the aggressive nature that the Chargers play with, right? I'm not comparing anything. I'm not saying that the Chargers need to do exactly what they did in 2021, XYZ. I'm not saying any of that. I am just comparing the mindset of that team and how good they were offensively, right? So, again, the Chargers were aggressive. The game plan was aggressive. Now, when you look at the box score, when you go back and you look at how many points the Chargers scored, when you just look at the number of plays the Chargers ran, they did not run a number of plays, right? They only ran less than 60 plays. Justin Herbert had 35 pass attempts, and the Chargers ran the ball 22 times, right? So for a Charger offense, that is pretty damn balanced. That's balanced for a Charger offense. Now, anybody else's offense, I can't really speak to. But for a Charger offense that is pass heavy, that's pretty balanced. So they only ran the ball 22 times for 80 yards, but it was at opportune times, right? And they ran the ball enough. They did it well enough to have the Bengals respect it, right? So play action worked. Being able to get down the field, right? Send Jalen Guyton down the field, send Mike Williams down the field. It worked. It worked. So I think that has to be at the forefront, right? Being able to be balanced in the playoffs. You don't need to run the ball for a lot of yards, right? The Chargers don't need 200 yards. They don't need Austin Eckler to break one every game. But they have to make the defense respect the run game. And if they're able to do that, then play action is going to open up, and then the offense is really, really going to be able to get going. But it starts with being balanced, right? You can't go into playoff games thinking you're going to throw the ball 55 times and win. It just doesn't work. It doesn't really happen in the playoffs. You have to present some type of balance. You have to make the defense respect what you do, right, in both facets of the game, especially since the Chargers don't have any speed demons on offense, right? You're going to have to be balanced, and you're going to have to keep a team guessing with, the personnel that the Chargers currently have. Now, back in 2021, the Bengals defense was good, right? They were good, but the Chargers got off to a hot start. They scored 16 points in the first quarter. And I think that is going to be number one. That's going to be the key to any type of success in the playoffs. Getting off to good starts, right? Avoiding the 3 and outs, right? Avoiding, the bad sequences on offense, right? Avoiding all of that and getting off to hot starts, scoring touchdowns, getting ahead, really putting pressure on teams, right? Getting ahead by 7, getting ahead by 10, getting ahead by 14. That is going to be crucial. If they are able to do that, then they are really, really going to put pressure on teams, and they're going to, be able to knock teams out of their game plans, right? If you get down by 14 points in a playoff game, whatever you planned on doing as a team, it has to be reevaluated, right? There is no next week. It's either win or go home. So you have to go with what works, and teams normally will deviate from their game plans. You can get them off balance, and you can get a team in a one-dimensional mindset, going forward for the rest of the game, if they're able to go out and, get a head start on offense. That's what they did in 2021 against the Bengals. That works in the playoffs. That's always, always, always going to work. So that was just an overview of one of the best games that I thought Joe Lombardi called. But again, I do think that Brandon Staley is going to need to be hands-on with this approach, with this offensive approach. It's going to be all hands on deck. This offense is not good enough on its merits to go on the road and, put up a bunch of points against, even a decent defense, right? A defense that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Everybody has to contribute, right? Red zone obviously is going to be huge. It's going to be key. The Chargers, they were able to get some red zone success against the Rams last week, right? Obviously getting your big tight end Donald Parham involved, getting Mike Williams involved in the middle of the field. But again, they're going to have to be good situationally. They're going to have to get off to good starts, and they're going to have to do enough. They're going to have to be balanced enough to really put pressure on a defense. As of right now, if nothing else in the standings changes, it looks like the Chargers are going to potentially have a game against Jacksonville, right? So Jacksonville's a team, they can score. They can score with the best of the the offenses in the league now. Trevor Lawrence has really come into his own in his second year. Doug Peterson has really turned the Jaguars around. He's done a great job, and their offense is explosive. They can do a lot. They can run the ball and they can throw the ball downfield. They have a lot of weapons, and they have a lot of team speed as well too. So they're a team that can put up points. And if the Chargers do end up matching up with the Jaguars, it will be, somewhat of a shootout. I think the Chargers are going to have to score points. Going down there for a playoff game. Jacksonville hasn't had a playoff game, and I don't know how long. Right? It's been about 6 or 7 years since they've had a playoff game. Their fans, they don't see playoff football very often, so you're going to be in a very raucous environment, right? The crowd, the fans, they are really, really going to be, up and juiced for it, and the Chargers are going to have to. They're going to have to meet fire with fire. It's just the way that the game is played now in 2022. Your defense can be as good as they want to, but your offense has to score points. So I think going to Jacksonville with 17 points, with 20 points, I don't think it's going to get it done. The Chargers are going to have to score points. They're going to have to be up there in the high 20s at least, right? Even with the good defensive game, a good defensive effort, for you to feel comfortable enough to win a playoff game, you're going to have to be up there in the high 20s, right? You're going to have 27, 28 points, right? Maybe 30 points, whatever it is. But teams can score. And that's something that you want to do. That's something that you want to, be able to keep pace, with other teams, right? You have to. You're going to have to score points. Defense is playing well. You can't take anything away from them. But the offense, they need to come around. It was a good start against the Rams, but they have more work to do, and they have more, chemistry to build, on the offensive side. There's still time, right? It's still a couple of weeks away, but as things stand right now, it's a matchup with Jacksonville if nothing else changes. And there's a good possibility that nothing else changes. But, I think that would be a good matchup for the Chargers. But, to not go in there and not score points would be a disastrous situation. And it could bode for a first-round exit if they don't score points against a team that can, right? They can go downfield. They can score points in a bunch of different ways. They have a quarterback who is, pretty much like a mini Justin Herbert, so they can do a lot on offense, right? Their defense isn't great, but, at that point, you have to match fire with fire, like I said. So I'm looking for this offense to be good enough. I am. I'm looking for them to be good enough. They have everything that they need personnel-wise. Obviously, coaching has been, most of the issue, as far as the offense goes, that and injuries. But I'm looking for them to be good enough. I'm looking for them to be good enough to win a playoff game. I'm looking for them to be good enough to, match points with whoever they need to match points with. But again, as of right now, the matchup looks like it might be Jacksonville. So, if you're looking for a edge that the Chargers can have, right, it's getting out early, right, scoring points early and really putting pressure on a Jacksonville team. But they're the name of the game is just scoring points. Obviously, offensively, they must score points. But I just wanted to come on here and make this video, reference the game last year, and let everybody know that this team is capable of doing it. Right, if they are able to focus in, if they are able to have all hands on deck again, I think Brandon Staley will play a crucial role in offensive game planning as well as defensive game planning. If they're able to do that, then I think they have a good chance. But it's all going to start on offense. It's all going to start with being able to score points, being able to get the ball in the end zone, and just doing the little things, right? That's what it's going to start with. So that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Really, really appreciate it. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. I'll be going live a little later on today. We're going to be breaking down some of the film from the Rams game. We're going to be talking about some offensive stuff, some stuff that I like, and hopefully some more stuff that we see, not just this week against the Broncos, but, moving forward into the wild card round as well, too. So we'll be breaking a lot of that down. So hopefully you guys join us for that live stream. But again, that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for the support, and until next time.